Chiara Marino had a system. Every Monday, she reconciled accounts. Tuesday was payroll. Wednesday through Friday, she handled the more creative aspects of her job, making sure the Lombardi family's money looked as legitimate on paper as it definitely wasn't in reality. It was a good system, a safe system, one that kept her employed and, more importantly, alive in a world where asking the wrong questions could get you disappeared. What her system didn't account for was Marco Lombardi, standing in her office doorway at 7 p.m. on a Thursday, looking like Sin in a three-piece suit, asking if she'd finished the quarterly reports. Almost, Chiara said, not looking up from her laptop. If she looked up, she'd notice things, like how the suit jacket emphasized his shoulders, or how he'd rolled his sleeves up, revealing forearms that had no business being that distracting, or how he was looking at her with that unreadable expression he always wore when he thought she wasn't paying attention. She was always paying attention. How almost? Marco's voice was low, controlled. Everything about Marco Lombardi was controlled. "Give me 20 minutes. Chiara saved her work and finally looked up. Mistake. He'd moved closer, now leaning against her desk, and she caught a hint of his cologne. Something expensive and cedar-scented that made her want to lean in like a total idiot. She did not lean in. She was a professional. 20 minutes, Marco repeated, like he was testing the words. His eyes tracked over her face, lingering on her mouth for a fraction too long before snapping back to her eyes. Fine. My office when you're done. He left before she could respond. Chiara released a breath she hadn't known she was holding and slumped in her chair. 8 months. She'd been working for Marco Lombardi for 8 months, and the man had never once looked at her like she was anything other than a particularly useful calculator. Always, Señorita Marino formal, always professional, always so carefully distant that she'd convinced herself he probably didn't even know her first name. Which was fine. Totally fine. She didn't need her criminally gorgeous, possibly actually criminal boss to notice her. Except she did. She really, really did. "Girl, you're staring at nothing," Sophia, her assistant, said from the doorway. "Boss man got you flustered again?" "He doesn't get me flustered. You're blushing." "I'm warm. It's 60 degrees in here." Chiara threw a pen at her. Sophia caught it, laughing. "One day," Sophia said, "you're going to realize that man is just as gone for you as you are for him." "Sophia, he barely acknowledges I exist. He moved your office to this floor 3 months ago. For efficiency. He has coffee delivered to your desk every morning. That's you. Girl," Sophia crossed her arms, "I don't come in until 9. That coffee arrives at 7:30. Who do you think is ordering it?" Chiara blinked. What? "Marco Lombardi, your boss, the man who supposedly doesn't notice you." Sophia grinned. "Finish your reports, and maybe notice him back for once." She left, and Chiara sat there, processing. Marco ordered her coffee? For 8 months? No. That didn't make sense. If Marco was interested, he would have said something. Done something. The man didn't strike her as the type to pine silently. Chiara shook her head and returned to her reports. 20 minutes later, she knocked on Marco's office door. Enter. His office was exactly like him. Expensive, minimalist, intimidating. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, and Marco sat behind a massive dark wood desk that probably cost more than her car. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression shifted. Softened, maybe. Or maybe she was imagining it. "The reports," Chiara said, setting them on his desk. "Q3 looks good. Revenue's up 18%, expenses are managed, and everything's clean." Clean meaning? Meaning if the IRS shows up, they'll find a completely legitimate import-export business with proper documentation and reasonable profit margins. Marco's lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "You're good at your job, Señorita Marino." "I know." She turned to leave. Chiara. She froze. He'd never used her first name, not once in 8 months. She turned back slowly. Yes? Marco stood, rounding the desk. There's a dinner tomorrow night. Family dinner at Lombardi's. I need you there. I'm not family. You're essential personnel. We're discussing expansion, and I need you present for the financial implications. Chiara studied him. There was something off about this request. Family dinners were sacred, from what she understood. Outsiders didn't attend. Is this really about finances? She asked. Marco's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Be there, 8 p.m. That's not a request. Sounds like an order. It is. He moved closer, and Chiara's breath caught. This close, she could see the slight stubble on his jaw, the way his dark eyes tracked over her face like he was memorizing details. Wear something nice. I always dress professionally. I know. His voice dropped lower. Wear something nice anyway. Then he stepped back, returning to his desk. And just like that, the moment was over. Chiara left before she could do something stupid like ask what the hell was happening. The next evening, Chiara stood in front of her closet having a minor crisis. It's a work dinner, she told her reflection. Professional. Just at a family restaurant. With the actual family present. Her phone rang. She grabbed it without looking. What? Rude, her best friend Natalia said. What's wrong? I'm having a wardrobe crisis for a dinner that shouldn't be this stressful. The boss dinner. How did you... Sophia told you, didn't she? Obviously. So what are you wearing? I don't know. It's a family dinner, but he said to wear something nice, and I don't know if that means business nice or date nice or... Wait. Natalia's voice sharpened. Did you just say he wants you at family dinner? Yes? Chiara. That's not a work thing. That's a statement. A statement of what? That you're important. That you're his. Girl, wear the red dress. The red dress is too much. Wear the red dress. And Chiara? What? Wear good underwear. Why would I? Just in case you're the dinner. Natalia. Her friend's laugh was evil. Have fun. She hung up, and Chiara stared at the red dress hanging in her closet. It was too much. Definitely too much. Way too much for a professional dinner about finances. She wore it anyway. Lombardi's was everything Chiara expected. Elegant, expensive, with the kind of atmosphere that said, "We have very good lawyers." She arrived at exactly 8 p.m. and was immediately intercepted by a hostess who looked like she knew exactly who Chiara was. Señorita Marino, this way, please. The private dining room was already full. 20, maybe 25 people. All clearly family, all talking over each other in that particular way Italian families had. Chiara recognized some faces. Marco's father Salvatore at the head of the table, his mother Carmela directing traffic from the kitchen doorway, various aunts and uncles and cousins she'd seen in photos in Marco's office. And Marco himself, standing near the windows, phone to his ear, looking stressed. Then he saw her. The phone lowered. His eyes tracked from her heels to the red dress to her face, and Chiara watched something crack in his usually perfect control. He ended the call without looking away from her. Chiara, he said, crossing to her in 3 long strides. You came. You ordered me to. I asked. You said, that's not a request. Semantics. His hand found her lower back, warm through the thin fabric of her dress, and Chiara's breath caught. Come, I'll introduce you. The next 30 minutes were a blur of names and faces. Marco's family was warm, loud, overwhelming in the best way. His mother hugged her like they were old friends. His father assessed her with sharp eyes before nodding approval. Various aunts asked invasive questions about her personal life, while cousins argued about soccer in the background. Through it all, Marco stayed close. Possessively close. When they finally sat for dinner, Chiara found herself at the main table, wedged between Marco's Aunt Teresa and Tommaso Ferrara. The man to her left introduced himself with a charming smile. "But everyone calls me Tommy. You're Chiara, right? The accountant?" "That's me. Marco's told us about you." Tommy's smile widened, though he didn't mention you were so beautiful. Chiara felt Marco tense beside her. "Thank you," she said carefully, because Tommy seemed genuinely friendly, and she didn't want to be rude. "Have you worked with Marco long?" 5 years. I handle the restaurant side of things. Legitimate operations, you know." He leaned closer, conspiratorial. "Between you and me, it's way less exciting than the movies make it seem. Mostly just arguing with suppliers and managing temperamental chefs." Chiara laughed despite herself. Tommy was easy to talk to, charming in that obvious way that suggested he knew exactly how charming he was. Across the table, Marco had stopped talking entirely. His attention was fixed on his wine glass, jaw tight, shoulders rigid. Dinner progressed. Tommy kept up a steady stream of conversation, funny stories about restaurant disasters and kitchen fires, and the time a health inspector found a family of raccoons in the storage room. Chiara was mid-laugh when Tommy's hand landed on her lower back. Casual, friendly, meaningless. But Marco saw. The scrape of his chair was loud enough to stop every conversation at the table. Everyone turned. Marco stood, and Chiara had never seen him look like this. Every careful mask of control was gone, replaced by something cold and dangerous. "Tommaso," Marco said, voice deadly quiet. "Outside. Now." Tommy's hand left Chiara's back immediately. "Boss, Now." The entire room had gone silent. 25 people watching, waiting. Tommy stood, confused but obedient. He followed Marco toward the private hallway that led to the back offices. Chiara's stomach dropped. This was bad. This was very bad. She stood too, ignoring Carmela's hand on her arm. "Excuse me?" She caught up to them in the hallway just as Marco turned on Tommy. "You put your hands on her," Marco said, each word precise and dangerous. "Boss, it was just friendly. You put your hands on her." "Marco," Chiara interrupted, "it was nothing." Marco's eyes cut to her, and Chiara actually took a step back. She'd never seen him look at anyone like that. "Go back inside, Chiara." "No. This is ridiculous." "Chiara," his voice cracked like a whip. "Inside. Now." She crossed her arms instead. "No. You don't get to order me around like Tommaso," Marco said, still looking at Chiara. "You're fired. Get out of my restaurant." The words hung in the air. Tommy's face went white. "Boss, please. Out. I've been with you for 5 years. And you just threw that away." Marco finally looked at him. "You knew. Everyone at that table knows. And you put your hands on her anyway." "Knew what?" Tommy looked between them. "Boss, I don't... that she's mine." Chiara's heart stopped. Tommy's eyes widened. "Boss, I swear, I didn't know." "Bullshit. Everyone knows. You just didn't care." Marco stepped closer, and Tommy actually backed up. "You have 10 seconds to be gone before I make this worse for you." 10. Tommy looked at Chiara, something like apology in his eyes. Then he left, nearly running. Silence. Chiara stared at Marco, her mind blank. "What?" she finally managed. "The hell was that?" Marco turned to her, and some of the coldness had left his expression. Now he just looked tired. "That was me losing control." "You fired Tommy, your capo, for touching you, yes. It was his hand on my back. I don't care if it was his pinky finger. Nobody touches you." "You can't fire people for touching me." "I just did." Chiara made a sound of pure frustration. "Marco, that's insane. You just In front of your entire family. Good. Now everyone's clear. Clear about what? Marco moved so fast Chiara barely saw him coming. 1 second he was 3 feet away. The next he had her backed against the wall, his hands on either side of her head, caging her in. Clear, he said, voice low and rough. That you're mine. Chiara's breath came in short gasps. I'm not. You are. You've been mine since the day you walked into my office and corrected my math without flinching. You've been mine every morning when I send coffee to your desk. You've been mine every time I find excuses to be near you. You're mine, Chiara, and I'm done pretending otherwise. You never said anything. I'm saying it now. His eyes dropped to her mouth. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel this. Chiara couldn't think. Could barely breathe. You fired Tommy. I'd fire everyone in that room if they touched you. That's not romantic. That's psychotic. Probably. He leaned closer, and Chiara could feel the heat of him. Tell me to stop. Stop what? This. And he kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't asking permission. It was 8 months of tension and frustration and want, compressed into one devastating kiss that made Chiara's knees buckle. Marco caught her, pressed her harder against the wall, and kissed her like he was trying to prove a point. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. That, Marco said roughly, is why I fired Tommy. Because you wanted to kiss me? Because seeing his hands on you made me want to break something, and I realized I was done watching other men try for what I want. And what do you want? Marco's eyes were almost black. You. Every way I can have you. Marco. I know it's unprofessional. I know it's a bad idea. I know I should have stayed professional and kept my distance. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. But I can't anymore. Not after tonight. Not after seeing someone else touch you and realizing I'd rather burn everything down than let that happen again. Chiara should push him away. Should remind him they worked together. Should point out that he just fired someone in front of his entire family and created a scandal that would take weeks to smooth over. Instead, she heard herself say, Good. Marco blinked. Good? I'm tired of you being professional too. Something dangerous lit in his eyes. Chiara. Chiara. A Carmela's voice came from down the hall. Marco, what's happening? They broke apart as Marco's mother appeared, looking between them with knowing eyes. Mama, Marco started. No. Carmela held up a hand. Everyone heard, everyone saw. You fired Tommaso in front of the whole family. She looked at Chiara. Because of her, yes? Yes, Marco said simply. Good. Carmela smiled. That boy needed to learn respect, and you needed to stop being stubborn. She turned to Chiara. Welcome to the family, Cara. Officially now. She left, and Chiara let out a slightly hysterical laugh. Did your mother just welcome you to the family? Yes. Because you fired Tommy. Because I finally claimed what's mine. Stop saying that. Why? It's true. Marco. He kissed her again, softer this time. We should go back inside. Are you insane? Everyone just saw? Everyone already knew. He took her hand. Come on, might as well make it official. Walking back into that dining room was one of the most mortifying experiences of Chiara's life. Every single person was staring. The conversations had all stopped. Marco led her directly to his seat, pulled out the chair, and waited for her to sit. Then he took his own seat and put his arm around the back of her chair, possessive and public. As I was saying, he said calmly, like nothing had happened. The expansion plans for next quarter. And just like that, dinner resumed. Chiara sat there in shock while business was discussed around her. Marco's hand stayed on her chair the entire time, occasionally dropping to her shoulder in a casual touch that felt anything but casual. Under the table, his knee pressed against hers. Every time someone spoke to her, his hand would tighten slightly on her shoulder. It was possessive and cavemanish, and Kiara should probably be annoyed. She wasn't. When dinner finally ended, Marco walked her to her car, his hand on her lower back the entire time. "Tomorrow," he said, "we talk about this properly. About you firing your capo, or about you kissing me?" "Both. Dinner. My place. 8 p.m. "That's not a question." "No." His hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer. "It's a statement of fact. You're coming to dinner. We're talking. And Kiara?" "Yes?" His mouth brushed her ear. "Wear whatever you want. It's coming off anyway." He stepped back before she could respond, leaving Kiara standing there, heart racing, as he walked back to the restaurant. She got in her car and immediately called Natalia. "So," Natalia answered, "how was dinner?" "He fired someone." "What?" "His capo, Tommy. Fired him in front of everyone because Tommy touched my back. Holy shit. Then he kissed me in the hallway. Holy shit. Then he told his entire family I'm his. I'm screaming. What happened after?" "We went back to dinner like nothing happened, and he basically claimed me publicly in front of 25 people. That's actually kind of hot?" "That's what I said. So what now?" "Now I have dinner at his apartment tomorrow night." Kiara paused. "Natalia, he said whatever I wear is coming off anyway." "Oh my God. What do I do?" "Go to dinner. Obviously. Girl, this man just burned his professional reputation for you. He fired someone. Because he couldn't stand another man touching you. That's literally the most alpha thing I've ever heard." Kiara slumped in her seat. "This is insane. This is romantic. He's my boss." "Not anymore, he's not. Now he's your, whatever the Italian Mafia equivalent of boyfriend is. We don't even know if he's actually, Kiara, baby. He fired a capo at a family dinner for touching you. He's definitely Mafia adjacent at minimum. That should scare me, but it doesn't." "But it doesn't," Kiara admitted. "So go to dinner. Wear good underwear. And text me when you get home." "When I get home or when I get home?" "Exactly." They hung up, and Kiara sat in her car for another 10 minutes, processing. Marco Lombardi had fired someone over her, had kissed her, had publicly claimed her in front of his entire family, and she was going to his apartment tomorrow night. This was either the best or worst decision of her life. Probably both. The next day at work was awkward as hell. Everyone knew. Of course everyone knew. By Monday morning, the entire office had heard about the dinner incident. People stared, whispered. One brave soul asked if it was true that Marco had fired Tommy over her. "No comment," Kiara said, heading directly to her office. Sophia was waiting. "Girl, don't. Girl. Sophia, I swear, you're dating the boss." "I'm not." Kiara paused. "Were they dating?" It's complicated." "It's not complicated. He fired someone for touching you. That's pretty straightforward possessiveness." "Can we not talk about this?" "We're absolutely talking about this." Sophia closed the door. "What happened after dinner?" "Nothing. He walked me to my car." And said we're having dinner tonight. At his place." Sophia's eyes went wide. "His place?" "His place. Kiara, that's not dinner. That's a declaration." "Everyone keeps saying that." "Because it's true." Before Kiara could respond, her phone buzzed. "Marco. My office. Now." Sophia read it over her shoulder. "Go. And girl, good luck." Kiara walked to Marco's office on shaking legs. She knocked once. "Enter." He was at his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, looking at his laptop. He didn't look up when she entered. "Close the door." She did. Lock it. Kiara's heart jumped. Marco. Lock it, Kiara. She locked it. Only then did Marco look up, and the expression on his face made her knees weak. Come here. She crossed to his desk slowly. If this is about the reports... It's not about the reports. He stood, rounding the desk. It's about last night. Marco, we should probably... He pulled her against him, and whatever Kiara was going to say died. I meant what I said, Marco said quietly. You're mine, and I'm done pretending otherwise. People are going to talk. Let them. This is unprofessional. I know. I work for you. Not anymore. Kiara blinked. What? You're not my employee anymore. You're my... He paused. What do you want to be called? What? Girlfriend seems juvenile. Partner is business. Woman is possessive but accurate. Marco, you can't just decide I'm not your employee. I'm promoting you. Partner. Full equity. You handle all financial operations with complete autonomy. Kiara stared at him. You're giving me equity in your criminal enterprise? Allegedly criminal enterprise. And yes. That's insane. That's practical. This way nobody can say I'm sleeping with an employee. You're not sleeping with me. Yet. His hand settled on her waist. But I will be. Tonight. Which is why this needed to happen now. Kiara couldn't form words. You're impossible. You say that like it's news. He pulled her closer. So, partners in business. And in everything else. His thumb brushed her jaw. If you want. And if I don't, then I'll back off. Completely. Professional distance. I'll even rehire Tommy if it makes you feel better. You'd do that? I'd hate it. But yes. Kiara studied him. And if I say yes, then everyone in this building knows you're off limits. Then I stop pretending I don't want you. Then I stop maintaining distance and start showing you exactly what I've been holding back for 8 months. That's a lot. It's everything. His forehead touched hers. So what do you want, Kiara? She should say no. Should point out all the ways this was a terrible idea. Should remind him they barely knew each other outside of work. Instead, she said, I want you to stop being so fucking professional all the time. Marco's smile was slow and dangerous. Done. Then he kissed her, and it was nothing like last night's kiss. This was slower, deeper, 8 months of want distilled into something that made Kiara's toes curl. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marco said, Dinner. Tonight. My place. Don't be late. Is that an order? It's a promise. Kiara left his office on shaking legs, very aware that everyone in the building was staring. Let them stare. That evening, Kiara stood in front of her closet having another crisis. It's his apartment, she told Natalia over the phone. What do I wear? Something that comes off easy. Natalia! What? Practical. I can't go to dinner dressed like what? Like a woman who knows she's about to get railed by a gorgeous Italian man who fired someone over her? Oh my God. Kiara, he told you it's coming off anyway. Wear literally anything. A dress, jeans. Hell, show up naked, he won't complain. I'm not showing up naked. Your loss. Natalia paused. Seriously though, wear whatever makes you feel confident. And Kiara? Yeah? Only if you're dinner. I hate you. Love you too. Kiara hung up and pulled out a simple black dress. Not too obvious, but definitely not innocent. She paired it with heels and left her hair down, something she never did for work. At exactly 8 p.m., she knocked on Marco's door. He opened it immediately, and Kiara forgot how to breathe. He'd changed from his suit into dark jeans and a button-down with the sleeves rolled up. Casual Marco was somehow more devastating than professional Marco. Kiara. His eyes tracked over her, hungry and possessive. You came. You invited me. I ordered you to. Semantics. She echoed his words from last night, and his lips twitched. Come in. His apartment was exactly what she expected. Expensive, minimalist, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It was also surprisingly lived in, with books on the coffee table and a laptop open on the couch. You cook? Chiara asked, smelling something amazing from the kitchen. My nonna taught me. After she died, I stopped. Why? Cooking for myself seemed pointless. And now? Marco looked at her. Now it has a point. Dinner was amazing. Pasta made from scratch. Sauce that tasted like it had simmered for hours. Bread that was still warm from the oven. They talked through dinner. Real conversation, not work talk. Marco told her about growing up in Italy, about his nonna who'd taught him to cook, about moving to the States at 18. Chiara told him about her accounting degree, about the professor who'd told her she was too honest for this field, about her parents who still didn't quite understand what she did. They think I'm a regular accountant, she admitted, for a regular import-export business. And you don't correct them? Would you? Fair point. After dinner, they moved to the couch with Grappa. Marco sat close, his thigh pressed against hers. About last night, Chiara said. About me firing Tommy? About all of it. Marco set down his glass. I'm not sorry. You should be. You fired someone who worked for you for 5 years. He touched what's mine. I'm not a possession. No, you're mine. There's a difference. Is there? One implies ownership. The other implies... He paused, choosing words carefully. Claim. Protection. Possession in the sense that my heartbeat is mine. Necessary. Irreplaceable. Chiara's breath caught. That's... too much? No. She turned to face him fully. It's exactly enough. Something shifted in Marco's expression. Chiara, I spent 8 months thinking you didn't see me, that I was just another employee, just the accountant who kept your books clean. I saw you. I always saw you. Then why didn't you say anything? Because I thought distance was safer, for you, from me and what I am. And now? Now I don't care about safe. Not when it means watching other men try for what I want. And what do you want? Marco's hand cupped her face. Everything. Chiara's heart hammered. That's a big ask. I'm a greedy man. I noticed. His thumb brushed her lower lip. Tell me no. Right now. Tell me you don't want this. Because if you don't, I'll call you a car. You go home. We stay professional. I'll even rehire Tommy. But if you stay... His eyes were dark, intense. If you stay, this changes everything. You're not my accountant anymore. You're mine. In every way that matters. That's possessive. Extremely. And territorial. Absurdly. And probably a little crazy. Definitely crazy. He leaned closer. But 8 months, Chiara. 8 months of watching you, wanting you, forcing myself to stay professional. I'm done. So tell me now. Do you want me to call that car? Chiara looked at him. Really looked at him. At the control he was barely maintaining. At the want in his eyes. At the way his hands shook slightly where they touched her. 8 months of thinking she was invisible. 8 months of Marco seeing everything and forcing himself not to act. No car, she said quietly. No? No car. She leaned into him. I'm staying. Marco's control cracked. He pulled her into his lap in one smooth movement, Chiara straddling him, and kissed her like he was starving. Chiara responded immediately, hands in his hair, pressing closer. 8 months of tension exploded between them. Bedroom. Marco said against her mouth. Now. Confident I'm going? He stood, lifting her with him, her legs wrapping around his waist. You're going. He carried her down the hall, kicked open a door, and pressed her against the wall beside his bed. Last chance, he said, breathing hard. Tell me to stop. Don't stop. Chiara. She kissed him, hard and demanding. Don't. Stop. Marco made a sound low in his throat and pinned her harder against the wall. His mouth moved to her neck, and Chiara gasped. This dress, he muttered. What about it? I've been thinking about taking it off all night. Then take it off. He did, zipper sliding down with agonizing slowness. The dress pooled at her feet. Marco stepped back, looking at her, and the expression on his face made Chiara feel powerful. Come here, he said, voice rough. She walked to him, and he pulled her against him, his hands everywhere, claiming. Mine, he said against her mouth. Yours. He lifted her, tossing her on the bed. Not rough, but definitely not gentle either. Chiara's breath caught. Marco. He crawled over her, predatory. Say it again. What? Say you're mine. I'm... His hand slid up her thigh, stopping just short. Say it. I'm yours. Again. Marco. Again, Chiara. I'm yours. She arched against him. Happy? His smile was dark and satisfied. Getting there. Then his mouth was on hers again, hands everywhere, and Chiara lost track of everything except the feel of him, the weight of him, the way he touched her like he'd been planning this for months. Been thinking about this, Marco said between kisses. Every day, every time you walked into my office. Me too. Yeah? He pulled back to look at her. Tell me. Chiara blushed. I had dreams. What kind of dreams? The kind I'm not admitting to. Tell me anyway. No. His hand slid higher. Tell me, Chiara. She gasped. About your desk. Marco's eyes went almost black. My desk? And me, on it, with you. He kissed her hard, cutting her off. We'll try that later. Right now I want you here, in my bed, where I can take my time. How much time? 8 months' worth. Then he proceeded to prove he meant it. Fade to black, YT safe. Chiara woke to sunlight and soreness. Good soreness. The kind that made her blush remembering. She stretched, wincing slightly, and felt the bed shift beside her. Sore? Marco's voice was smug, entirely too smug. Chiara cracked one eye open. He was propped on his elbow, looking at her with satisfaction. You're proud of yourself. Extremely. She tried to sit up, winced again. How am I supposed to work today? You're not. Marco pulled her back down. We're staying here. It's Monday, and I'm the boss. We're taking the day. Marco. He kissed her neck, right over what was definitely a hickey. You have a mark. You gave me a mark. I gave you several. He sounded pleased. Everyone will know. Everyone will know I had sex with my boss. Partner. And good. Let them know. Chiara tried to glare at him, but couldn't quite manage it. You're impossible. You said that last night, too. Multiple times. His hand slid over her waist. Among other things. I hate you. Liar. I'm covered in hickeys. I can barely walk. And you look like... She finally noticed the scratches on his shoulders. Oh God. You have nails. I'm so sorry. Don't be. He caught her hand, kissing her palm. Wear them proudly. I am. You're insane. About you, completely. They stayed in bed another hour before Marco finally dragged himself away to make coffee. Chiara borrowed his shirt and followed, finding him on the balcony, shirtless, phone in hand. Work? She asked. Damage control. He pulled her into his lap. Tommy's angry. The family's gossiping. Everyone wants to know what happened. What are you telling them? The truth. That you're mine, and anyone who has a problem with that can leave. Marco, you can't. I can and I will. He set down his phone. Kiara, I'm not hiding this. Last night proved I can't do professional distance, so we're doing this publicly, together. And if people don't like it, they can work somewhere else. Your father's going to kill you. Probably. Worth it. Your mother's going to have opinions. Definitely. Also worth it. The entire family is going to be in our business. Without question. Still worth it. Kiara laughed despite herself. You're ridiculous. You're beautiful. He pulled her closer. Especially in my shirt. It was all I could find. Keep it. It looks better on you. They stayed on the balcony until Marco's phone rang. He glanced at it and sighed. My father. Answer it. He's going to yell. Then let him yell. Marco answered. Papa. Even from where she sat, Kiara could hear Salvatore's voice, loud and annoyed. Marco's responses were calm. Yes, I know. It's done. Not negotiable. Because she's mine. Eventually, Salvatore stopped yelling. Dinner, Marco said. Friday, both of us. Yes, I'm bringing her. Because she's family now. No, I'm not asking permission. He hung up. Well? Kiara asked. He's annoyed, but accepting. Mostly annoyed because I didn't tell him beforehand. You didn't tell anyone beforehand. I didn't know beforehand. Tommy touched you and I stopped thinking. You fired him. And I'd do it again. Marco turned her to face him. Kiara, understand something. I spent 8 months in control. Professional. Distant. The moment I saw him touch you, all of that vanished. Every careful plan I had about eventually asking you out properly, taking things slow, being appropriate, gone. I saw red and reacted. That's concerning. That's how you make me feel. Out of control, irrational, willing to burn everything down if it means keeping you. That should scare me. Does it? Kiara thought about it. The firing, the public claiming, the possessiveness. No, she admitted. It really doesn't. Good. He kissed her. Because you're stuck with me now. The week passed in a blur. Marco made good on his promise about partnership. She now had full equity and autonomy over all financial operations. He also made good on his promise about being possessive, showing up at her office multiple times a day for consultations that involved more kissing than actual work. Sophia found it hilarious. You two are disgusting, she said, walking in on them Friday afternoon. Also, boss, your father called. He said not to be late tonight. We won't be, Marco said, not letting go of Kiara. And he said to tell Kiara she's expected too. I know. Sophia left, and Kiara pulled back. Family dinner. Again. Different this time. How? This time everyone knows you're mine. No surprises. Except Tommy. Marco's jaw tightened. About Tommy. What about him? He's been calling, asking for his job back. And I'm considering it. Kiara blinked. You are? If you want me to. You said he was good at his job. He is. But Marco, after what happened, I made my point. Everyone knows you're off limits. If I bring Tommy back, he'll know to respect that. You'd really do that? If you asked me to. Kiara thought about it. What would the conditions be? He never touches you, never flirts, keeps things professional. The second he steps out of line, he's gone permanently. That seems fair. Then I'll call him. Just like that? Just like that. Marco pulled her closer. You're my partner now, Kiara. In everything. That means I listen when you tell me something. Even about someone you fired for touching me? Especially about that. That night's family dinner was less eventful than the previous weeks. Everyone was there. Salvatore, Carmela, the aunts and uncles and cousins. But this time when Chiara arrived with Marco, hand in hand, no one looked surprised. Carmela hugged them both. Finally, you look happy together. Thanks, Mama. Salvatore pulled Marco aside for a brief conversation that Chiara couldn't hear, but involved a lot of hand gestures. Eventually, Salvatore nodded and clapped Marco on the shoulder. They sat for dinner, and this time no one questioned Chiara's presence at the main table. Marco kept his hand on hers throughout the meal, casual and possessive. Halfway through dessert, Tommy appeared. The room went quiet. Tommy stood at the entrance, looking nervous. Boss, I was told to come? Marco had called him that afternoon. Chiara hadn't expected him to show up tonight. Tommaso. Marco stood. Come in. Tommy approached slowly, glancing at Chiara with something like apology. I was wrong, Tommy said immediately. What I did was disrespectful. I knew, and I did it anyway, and I'm sorry. To me or to her? To both of you. Boss, Tommy took a breath. I've worked for you for 5 years. I respect you. I respect what you've built. And I disrespected that by putting my hands on Chiara. I'm sorry. Marco studied him. You knew she was mine. Everyone knew. I didn't think you'd actually... Tommy stopped. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. I'm asking for another chance, under whatever conditions you want. Marco looked at Chiara. She gave a small nod. Fine, Marco said. You're rehired, same position. But Tommaso, you touch her again, you even look at her wrong. You're not just fired. We clear? Crystal. Good. Sit. Eat. Welcome back. Tommy's relief was visible. He took a seat far from Chiara and Marco, and dinner resumed. Later, when they were leaving, Chiara said, That was generous. That was you. You wanted him back. He's good at his job. He is, and now he knows the rules. Marco opened her car door. Come back to my place. Again? I have 8 months to make up for, remember? Marco, plus I want to wake up with you. His voice softened. Stay. Chiara smiled. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll stay. 6 months later, Chiara had moved most of her things into Marco's apartment. Not officially, she kept telling herself. Just practically. She still had her own place. For principle. The principle that she never actually used because she slept at Marco's every night. Work had settled into a new normal. Everyone knew they were together. Nobody commented. Sophia handled it with grace. Tommy stayed professional, and Salvatore stopped by occasionally to complain that they worked too much and needed to take vacation. Tonight was another family dinner at Lombardi's. Chiara arrived early to help Carmela with setup, something she'd started doing monthly. You're good for him, Carmela said, arranging flowers. My son smiles now. Before you, he never smiled. He smiled occasionally. He grimaced. That's different. Carmela handed her napkins to fold. You make him happy, Cara. That matters. He makes me happy too. Good. So when's the wedding? Chiara choked on air. Wedding? You live together. Everyone knows you're his. Might as well make it official. Carmela. I'm just saying, I'm not getting younger. I want grandchildren. We've been together 6 months. My husband proposed after 3 weeks. When you know, you know. Before Chiara could respond, Marco appeared. Mama, stop harassing my girlfriend. I'm not harassing. I'm suggesting. Suggest somewhere else. He pulled Chiara away. Sorry about her. She wants grandchildren. She wants a lot of things. Including us getting married, apparently. Marco's expression shifted. Would that be so bad? We've been together 6 months. And I've wanted you for 14 months total. I'm not exactly in a rush, but I'm also not opposed. Marco. I'm just saying, when I propose, and I will propose eventually, don't be surprised. When you propose. When, not if. He pulled her closer. You're mine, Kiara, in every way that matters. Might as well make it legal eventually. That's the least romantic proposal hint I've ever heard. Good thing it's not the actual proposal then. Kiara laughed. You're impossible. You've said that before. It's still true. And yet you're still here. And yet I'm still here. Dinner was loud and chaotic, the family talking over each other about business and gossip and who was dating whom. Kiara sat beside Marco, his arm around her chair, completely comfortable in the chaos. Tommy stopped by their seats briefly. Kiara, the Q3 numbers look good. Thanks. I'll send the full report Monday. Appreciate it. He nodded at Marco. Boss. Tommaso. He left, and Kiara elbowed Marco. You didn't glare at him. He's learned. So have you. Slightly. You're getting better at this. At what? Not firing everyone who talks to me. I have tremendous self-control. You fired someone for touching my back. Past me had less self-control. Current me is evolved. Sure. Marco's hand tightened on her shoulder. Don't push it. After dinner, they walked out together, Marco's hand on her lower back. My place? He asked. Your place is my place at this point. Exactly. So move in properly. I have my own apartment that you never use. It's the principle. The principle of paying rent on a place you don't sleep in? Yes. Marco laughed, pulling her closer. Fine. Keep your apartment. But Kiara? What? You're mine. You've been mine since the moment I saw you. And eventually, when I make it official, I want you to know I've been planning this since that first day. Planning what? Everything. He kissed her temple. You'll see. Kiara smiled against his shoulder. 6 months ago, she'd thought she was invisible to him. Now she couldn't walk into a room without him tracking her movements. Couldn't work without him finding excuses to be near her. Couldn't exist without feeling claimed and wanted and completely his. It should probably concern her how possessive he was. It didn't. Marco, she said as they reached her car. Yes? For the record, I've been yours since day one too. I just didn't know you'd noticed. His arms came around her, tight and secure. I noticed everything, Bella. Every single thing. I know that now. Good. He kissed her, slow and sweet. Now let's go home. Your place or mine? Ours, Marco corrected. It's been ours for months. You just haven't admitted it yet. Kiara laughed. Fine, let's go home. And if she noticed the small box in Marco's jacket pocket when he took it off later, she didn't say anything. Some surprises were worth waiting for. If you enjoyed Marco and Kiara's story, subscribe to Mafia Tales for more dangerous romances where powerful men meet their match. New stories every week. Want exclusive extended epilogues and bonus scenes? Join the Mafia Tales Club. You'll get early access to new stories and behind-the-scenes content you won't find anywhere else.